Into the quarterfinals we go now over in the African Cup of Nations, and which of these last remaining 8 countries are going to go the distance? We're going to take a look at that and much more next. Once again with another crazy video, of course, as we look forward to the last 8 of this year's African Cup of Nations, who, of course, will make it to the semi-finals. We'll get into all of that in a second. Of course, if you're new again, wherever you've been, smash your subscribe button. Your one-stop shop for the AFCON continues here, boys and girls, as we edge closer to another round of madness. And we'll get to it, all of it in a second. Of course, big shout out to my VIPs. They are the patrons, of course. You know who you are. And again, if you're new, make sure you subscribe. That's right, of course. Who'd have thunk it? This has been an absolute bonkers competition with a lot of the juggernauts crashing out, not only in the group stages, but of course following on in the early round, and of course that is the last 16. But which of those nations are through to the illustrious quarterfinals? We're going to get into it right now, of course, so let's jump in there and have a look what we're talking about. We're talking about, of course, this. Of course, and this is my bracket coming at you right here, right now, as we look forward to these last 16 matches. Well, actually, the last 8 matches, should we say. Of course, kicking off, it was the Super Eagles, that's right, of course, coming out against Cameroon. I went with a 2-1 win on that one, but of course, it was a 2-0 win. Nigeria go through to the next round. Next, of course, it was Angola up against Namibia, that's right. We were just happy to be here, weren't they, of course. I went with a 1-0 win on that one. It was a 3-0 win, so Angola joined Nigeria in that quarter-final, of course, which was what I expected in my round of 16 predictions. Meanwhile, Cape Verde took care of business against Mauritius in a very, very tight, entertaining back-and-forth kind of game. 3-1 was my pick. It was just a 1-0 win in the end. And then one of the probably the biggest shock of the whole Piston tournament, that's Morocco. Of course, World Cup semi-finalists. Of course, I did think they would win 2-0 against South Africa. But, of course, Bafana won 2-0 themselves. So, of course, go through to a weird, unpredictable quarter-final against Cape Verde. We'll look at those in a second. Of course, on the other end, we've got Burkina Faso. They were scheduled to take on Mali. I went with a win for them, but of course Mali going through with a 2-1 scoreline compared to my reverse one. And of course, then the champions. That's right, Senegal is the host, one of the tasty ones. I did go with a 2-0 win for Senegal, but guess what? It was a 1-1 draw. Penalties decided it, and Ivory Coast are there in the last 8. And joining them will not be Egypt, of course, also going out in the same fate. I actually predicted a 1-1 penalty win for Egypt, but it was a 1-1 penalty win for the Democratic Republic of Congo. Goodness gracious me, 8-7 on the night on penalties. And then wrapping up, it was the battle of the Guineas, of course. And Equatorial Guinea crash out despite having a fantastic group stage competition because they lost 1-0 to their other half, Guinea, that's right, to see them go through to the quarterfinals. But where are we now? Well, this is where we are right here, right now. We are starting to build up our own bracket. And we're going to take a look at each and every one of the quarterfinals, starting right here, right now, with Nigeria against Angola. So let's get into the deep end then on this one and see where, of course, which nations will go through to those semi-finals. Coming match on the 2nd of the 2nd, 2024, at the Stade Felix Houphouët Boigny. That's right, it's Nigeria up against Angola. Now, these two sides have locked horns twice in 2005, one with Nigeria, nothing for Angola, and there's been one draw between the two sides. Nigeria's one and only win was a 2-1 win. In fact, they scored 3 goals in the course of those 2 games, 1.50 goals a game on average. Angola may not have a victory, but they've got a couple of goals to the name against Nigeria, scoring 2 goals in total. That's a goal a game on average. Now, Angola come into this on red-hot form, 75% form for them right now, unbeaten in the last 7, of course, winning 3 on the bounce. Nigeria, the same, 67% form, though. Of course, 1 defeat in the last 6, however, winning 3 on the bounce as well. Now, two sides did lock horns at this stage in the African Nations Championship way back in January 2018. It was a 2-1 win for Nigeria in extra time, of course. And let's take a look at the avenues, or the goals, so far. Lookman's got a couple of goals so far for Nigeria. Osman just got the 1 so far. As for Angola, goals coming from Gelson Dala, Mabulu, both got 4 and 3 goals respectively. So we can imagine those guys being high scorers in this match, perhaps. But the odds here, 10-7 on is Nigeria. Of course, they're probably the favourite. We'll look at the odds in a minute. 23 to 10 is the draw. 5-1 is your long shot. shots. That's Angola. I think this is where the journey ends for Angola. Of course, this is a tournament full of surprises and twists and turns, and of course we can expect some in this stage, I can imagine. But I'm going to go with a win for Nigeria, 2-0 win for them to put them through to a semi-final. That's right here in the Ivory Coast. Of course, next up we do have Cape Verde up against South Africa. Bafana coming at you on Saturday, February the 3rd. That's right. Now these two sides have played each other 4 times. So 2005, we've got 2 wins for Cape Verde, 1 for South Africa, and 1 draw as well. Cape Verde, biggest win, 2-1 win, scoring 5 goals in the course of those 2 games, 1.25 goals a game. South Africa, though, 2-1 win, their biggest, also scoring 4 goals in those 4 games, 1.10 goals a game on average. Now South Africa coming to on 50% form for them right now, just 1 defeat in the last 5, of course, 1-2, lost 2, undrawn 2 over the last 6. They are, of course, going to be underdogs, I would imagine here. Or are they? Of course, Cape Verde on 75% form for them right now, just 1 defeat in the last 6. And of course, these two sides did lock horns last time back in September 2017. It was in the World Cup qualification phase. It was in South Africa. It was a 2-1 win for Cape Verde. Have won 3, actually unbeaten against South Africa over the last 4, it looks like. Am I looking at that right? No, over the last 3, of course. I mean, the last 3, of course, their goals so far for Cape Verde coming from Ryan Mendes de la Gassa, with, of course, a couple of goals there. As for South Africa, with the goals coming from Temba Swain, who's got himself a couple of goals so far to South Africa's name. 7-4 is Cape Verde, 90-10 is South Africa, 15-8 is, of course, the draw, which means penalties, and who knows more. Who knows, really, about this one? I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Bafana, who I just, I didn't see this coming at all. Never would have imagined them to be at this stage. Never really known them to be in the knockout stages. So congrats for them to get in here. And I do think they're going to make it 1 step further over a very good, solid Cape Verde side. But this is, of course, a whole competition full of twists and turns and surprises. So I'm expecting one right here with South Africa continuing their journey into the semis. Of course, then we hop over to the other side of the bracket. And then we do have Mali against the hosts, Ivory Coast, coming out on Saturday, February the 3rd. Now, these two sides have played each other 8 times in 2008. We've got 1 win for Mali, 5 for Ivory Coast, 2 draws, of course. Now, what a journey, or what a weird story it's been for Ivory Coast, clinging on for qualification to the knockout stages by the strings of their teeth, or whatever they say. Losing the coach decided to walk away with the weight of a nation on their shoulders. Then they get paired up against the champions, Senegal. But guess what? They're still here. They're still rocking. But they're standing in a way is Mali. Now, again, they have played each other 8 times. Of course, 1 for Mali, 5 for Ivory Coast, 2 draws. The biggest win, the only win for Mali, was a 1-0 win. They scored just 3 goals in those 8 games, 0.38 goals a game. Ivory Coast, though, 3-0 win, their biggest, scoring 10 goals in total at 1.25 goals a game as well. Now, Ivory Coast on 67% form for them right now, winning 4 times in the last 6. Up against the Mali side, are unbeaten within the last 11 games, 75% form for them as well. Now, these two sides did lock horns back in July 2019 in the African Cup of Nations knockout stage. It was in the round of 16, and Ivory Coast came out on top with a 1-0 win. The hosts of this competition, Ivory Coast, back-to-back clean sheets against Mali. But, of course, the goals for Mali coming from Lassane Sonoko, with 3 in this tournament. And the goals for Ivory Coast split amongst Frank Kessie, Senko Fofana, and Jean-Philippe Crasso, all chipping in with 1 goal so far. But the odds for this one, we've got Mali 5-2 for the victory, 30-10 is Ivory Coast, and 2-1 is, of course, the draw here. I think I'm backing Ivory Coast here. I've got the shirt. I'm going to have to dig the shirt out. 1-0 win for Ivory Coast. They'll go through to the semi-finals despite having a shit-old start to the tournament. They could actually go on and win the piston thing, but who's going to stand in the way? At the bottom end of this bracket, will it be the Democratic Republic of Congo, or will it be Guinea, of course? Who'd have thunk these two nations to be at this stage? No disrespect. Coming at you on the 2nd of the 2nd, 2024 at the Stade de la Plie. Of course, the DR Congo gets Guinea, of course, and Guinea, with, of course, the Blackburn Rovers connection of Kaba Diawara, former Rovers striker way back when. These two sides have played each other 4 times. In 2004, we've got 3 wins for DR Congo, 1 win for Guinea, 0 draws as well. The Congo, a 3-1 win, their biggest, scoring 12 goals in those 4 games. 3 goals a game on average when taking on Guinea now. Guinea, of course, 2-1 win, their biggest and only win, scoring 9 goals in the 4 games, 2.25 goals a game. This game reeks of goals, of course. 58% form for Guinea right now, just 1 defeat in the last 5. Of course, DR Congo, 1 defeat in the last 4 for them, 42% form for them. However, if you spin that around a little bit, just 1 win in 6 for them. However, they are in the draw specialists. Of course, these two sides did lock horns way back in November 2020. 2017, of course, World Cup qualification phase. DR Congo coming out top with a 3-1 win. In fact, they've won 3 in the spin against Guinea. Looking to extend that run as well. The goals coming from Ila, Wisa, and Katumpa Muva for DR Congo. As for their opposition, Guinea, goals coming from Bayo. He's got a couple so far. But the bookies back Mali here, 5-2 for the victory, 13-10. Actually, scrap that. What am I saying? DR Congo 29-20 for the victory, 19-10 is the draw, 23-10 is of course your Guinea here. This one, it could go either way. A bit of a corn flip. In fact, I made it go to penalties here. 1-1 in the end, and DR Congo will go through to take on Ivory Coast in this side of the bracket. And on the other side, we have Nigeria, South Africa, Bafana competing for a spot in the semi-finals. In fact, they'll compete for a spot in the finals. Goodness gracious me. That, my friends, is what I've got for you. Make sure you subscribe, smash the old like, and of course, come back again. Well, look forward to those illustrious semi-finals. Which one of these 8 nations will make those semi-finals? Of course, only 4 spots are available. 4 are going to go home. We'll take a look at all of it when we return. But until then, subscribe, smash it later. But until then, we're done.